So while the main character of our favorite JRPGs might be what carries this story, it's the cute, adorable, animal-like mascot characters that ultimately win over our hearts. Whether it's a psychotic robotic bear forcing us to play a killing game, or the adorable yellow mouse that makes our hearts melt with a million different ways it says the same two syllables over and over again. Just about every major JRPG franchise has one of them, and unlike most of the main characters, these little guys continue to come back again and again with every new entry of their respective series. So in today's episode of Fantasy Kingdom, we'll be taking a look at every JRPG out there as I give you guys the 10 most iconic mascots in JRPG franchises. For the record, I'm only considering franchise mascots with animal-like features, or at the very least, non-human mascots. This will help keep the list as adorable as possible. Also, I'm focusing on JRPG franchises, meaning that if said mascots don't appear in at least 3 games of their respective series, then they won't be considered for today's list. Finally, to keep things interesting, this list will only feature 1 entry per franchise. But before we get started, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel for more JRPG content. Also, hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video. Anyway, my name is Ruben with Fantasy Kingdom, and this is the top 10 best JRPG mascots. Let's get it. Number 10, Mishy the Cat, Falcom, The Legend of Heroes series, and the Yeast series. This adorable little kitty not only makes an appearance in one legendary franchise, but it actually makes an appearance in multiple series, including the Legend of Heroes franchise and the Yeast series. From being a party member to being a main collectible item in some games, Mishy the Cat has really made its round throughout the Falcom properties. This cat with gray fur has appeared as a major character, cameoed in other games as a side character, and even appeared as an Easter egg as a simple gray cat. Because of how fast fans of the Legend of Heroes series fell in love with Mishy, Falcom began using this adorable feline as their new mascot character, and for that reason, Mishy has appeared in many more Falcom games than any other character of their beloved JRPG franchises. Number 9, Puni, Atelier. The Punis of this franchise take a lot of inspiration from another mascot on this list, but essentially these little guys take up an appearance of Jello essentially. Yeah, they kind of remind me of Jello, although that could be because I'm actually really hungry right now. Anyway, the Punis of the Atelier franchise comes in many different colors and sizes, whether you collect them as pets in some games or attack them, which honestly kind of makes me feel like a monster in doing so. Punis have a simplistic yet colorful design that helps make them stand out so much that they have appeared in just about every game of this iconic franchise. Number 8, Nopon, Xenoblade Chronicles.
New hum friends, meet this year's legendary Nopon, Ricky. Ricky live to serve.
Okay, so I'm mainly putting this entry here because any fan of the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise knows what Nopons are, and for that reason, they are easily one of the more iconic JRPG mascots out there. That being said, I hate to say this, but these little egg-shaped characters are without a doubt one of the more annoying characters in the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. Like, they're unbearably annoying. Still, it's the artistic design of this race that really makes them stand out. As I said, the Nopon are creatures that are shaped like eggs, but are covered with fur and feathers, complete with facial expressions. The way they talk is probably one of the more frustrating traits about these guys, as they usually speak in third person and speak in very short sentences. Actually, not gonna lie, every time Ricky spoke, I literally wanted to rip my ears off. Yeah, they are actually that bad. Still, with how adorable most variations of them look, and the fact that they kind of remind me of Furbies, I still carry a soft spot for this iconic mascot. Even if I do have to mute them every time they are on screen, regardless of which Xenoblade Chronicles game I'm playing. Yeah, because I find them all annoying. Sorry, I said it. Number 7, Aguman, Digimon. While Digimon clearly failed to keep up with the success and popularity of their biggest rival Pokemon, the franchise did ultimately create its own universe and created a dedicated fanbase of its own. In fact, Digimon is actually getting a new game that's supposed to release later this year. If you don't know what Digimon is though, just know that it's basically Pokemon, except in this universe, every single Pokemon, aka Digimon, can talk. Anyway, there's a few different Digimon that most casual JRPG fans would actually recognize, like Gabumon and Koromon, but the clear runaway mascot of the series is without a doubt Aguman. This is the small yellow dinosaur-like Digimon that usually appeared on the cover of most Digimon games back in the day. In fact, while I barely know anything about Digimon, Aguman was always the one Digimon that I knew by name for the longest time. Number 6, Prinny, Disgaea. Hell yeah, dude, it's the Prinnies, dude. Rule number 1, and what makes Prinnies awesome is always include dude at the end of every sentence, dude.
You're absolutely right, dude! I'm sorry, dude!
Okay, I'm done, I promise. Anyway, Prinnies are not only the mascots of the Disgaea franchise, but they are actually largely viewed as the company's mascot as a whole due to how cute and iconic their appearance is. These bird-like creatures resemble a penguin, but with bat wings on their back and a fanny pack on their waist. Yeah, a penguin wearing a fanny pack. How fucking adorable is that? Their charming personalities always keep the mood light, and their creative yet satisfying art design makes them one of the cutest entries on today's list. Number 5, Jack Frost, Shin Megami Tensei.
Clean up ye! Clean up ho! Clean up hee-ho! Here we go! Bury them in pure white snow! Hee-haw!
Hee-ho, my fellow Shin Megami and Persona fans, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Jack Frost is in the house, guys. As the name suggests, Jack Frost is an ice demon that uses ice-based attacks and has ultimately won over fans since it was first introduced in early Shin Megami Tensei games, and since then it has appeared in other franchises by Alice, including the Persona series. In fact, like Prinny of Disgaea, Jack Frost has become so popular now that he's actually the face of Atlas. Jack Frost actually looks a bit different depending on which game you're looking at, from looking like a typical snowman that resembles Frosty the Snowman to taking on characteristics of a jester, but inspired by the Winter Wonderland, of course. Regardless of the version of him that we get though, he's without a doubt one of the more popular enemies in the Shin Megami Tensei franchise, and he's one of the coolest and most badass JRPG mascots ever created. Number 4, it's Monokuma, Danganronpa. Not every JRPG mascot on today's list gives off positive vibes. Take Monokuma for example. This is one psychotic bear created for one purpose: to force a bunch of boys and girls to murder each other in the most famous killing game franchise out there, Danganronpa. While first Monokuma might look and sound adorable, he's actually a monster. He gets a thrill out of watching people murder each other, and it's his sadistic nature that really makes him stand out from all the other different JRPG mascots out there. He might be one of the darker entries on today's list, but he's also one of the more memorable, hence why he claims a spot in the top 5 most iconic mascots in JRPGs. Number 3, Chocobo, Final Fantasy.
Do you know her, boy? That scar. It couldn't be. Ambrosia. It is you. You survived.
Believe it or not, Final Fantasy could potentially make up its own list with iconic mascot characters in JRPGs. The Moogles, aka the Mog, for example, are adorable flying cat-like creatures that have been around since early entries of the series. The Cactuar may very well be the most iconic enemy throughout the Final Fantasy franchise, and the Tonberry might be the most annoying enemy in the series. Despite all of that though, no mascot character of the Final Fantasy franchise is as recognizable and has been around for as long as the Chocobo has. These giant bird-like creatures were first introduced in Final Fantasy II, and since then they've appeared in just about every single mainline entry of the franchise. Not only are they adorable, but Chocobos are easily one of the more resourceful creatures on today's list. In fact, they help the player out a lot by making the long journeys across the massive worlds of Final Fantasy much faster and easier. It's really hard to give another Final Fantasy creature the title of franchise mascot than the bird that's been there almost every single step of the way for most of the heroes of the Final Fantasy franchise. Number 2, Slime, Dragon Quest. How do you normally like your slime? Blue, healing, metal, magma? Well, slime might be one of the more simplistic designs on today's list, but any JRPG fan could tell you exactly what game they come from just by looking at one of their many different variations in the Dragon Quest universe. Their most notable look is of course the healing slime, aka blue slime. Essentially, they look like a giant raindrop but with facial characteristics on the front of them as they smile at the player during combat. They are easily the most popular enemies in the entire Dragon Quest franchise, perhaps even the most popular enemy in the entire Square Enix library of enemies out there. In fact, their design inspired other JRPG mascots out there. For that reason, it's hard to think of a JRPG mascot more iconic than Dragon Quest's slime, but there is one that comes to mind. Number 1, Pikachu, Pokemon. Okay, the moment I decided to make this list, I already knew what the number 1 entry would be. I mean, in what possible world could Pikachu not claim the title for most iconic mascot character in a JRPG franchise? I know who Pikachu is, you know who Pikachu is, your brother, sister, mother, father, your best friend knows who Pikachu is. Hell, I bet your grandpa and grandma know who Pikachu is. Pikachu is the one character on this list I feel confident in saying that 100% of you guys watching this video right now have at least heard of Pikachu. Sure, there are other iconic Pokemon out there, most of which are from the first generation of Pokemon. But when you think of Pokemon, you think of Pikachu. You literally can't have one without the other in my opinion. It obviously helps that Pikachu sounds and looks adorable, perhaps more adorable than every other mascot character on this list. I mean seriously, I just want to squeeze that little yellow mouse to death every single time it says Pika to me, for crying out loud. But that does it for this episode of Nerd Space Games. Hit up the comments and let me know what you think of my list. Is Pikachu the best and most iconic mascot in a JRPG franchise, or is there a different mascot that's more deserving of that title? Let me know down below. Anyway, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content. Also, leave a like on today's video if you enjoyed today's topic. But thanks for watching, and as always guys, I'll catch you on the next episode of Fantasy Kingdom. Take care.